Aloha, everyone. This is Dewi Maile Lim with Quickening. I am your host and the creatrix of this amazing series, which has been a joy to co-create and be the steward of, really. I would love to hear from you all. Speaking of stewarding, if you want to drop in the comments where you're tuning in from and the First Nations people of the land that you reside on, and if you have Indigenous roots too, you can also give a shout out to your people. Just want to honor the sense of place that we're on. So I am currently on Moku Okeave, which is the land of the Kanaka Maole people, and before that, the beings of Mu and Lemuria, and whoever else may have set foot on this land and stewarded it. I just like to honor everyone because even the Hawaiians did migrate from Tahiti here in the Polynesian Triangle. So we have even the Hawaiian people who have stewarded this land longer than anyone else had migrated here. If you know, please share. And I'm so happy you're all here. So this series now is this is our sixth session, and I have pinned with me here today's featured speakers. I will introduce them in just a moment, but this is really a co-creative weaving of embodied feminine leaders' voices. And I've been curating our panel each week for the last 6 weeks, and we have 3 more sessions to go. So we're going to lead through till the end of the month. And it's the same time, same place every month. And we're also doing our best to broadcast immediately right after to LinkedIn with the replay. There is a LinkedIn specific focus for promoting and sharing this event. I was inspired to do that primarily because I feel like LinkedIn is definitely a blue ocean social network where it's very business and networking and opportunity focused, and all of the women who have been showing up for this can connect and really create a culture of support there on that platform. It's quickly changing to be more inclusive to creators like us and to people who want to share their thought leadership on the network. And that's really part of my own mission, is to celebrate women in their thought leadership, to co-create opportunities for ourselves to shine. And really what unites us all is this desire to midwife humanity into this like next evolution, and the planet along with us, for sure. Like all of us definitely are in support of that here. And so the more of us that come together and share our voices and our unique perspectives of how we're doing that and how we're showing up in our leadership, the more we can see that we're not alone, and we can inspire one another and find our ways that we can continue to weave and share. And a lot of us have had amazing synergy through this event, and I have put on 3 speaker only events before this for any speakers that were interested. And that's really where the synergy got started. Just kind of, vetting the field and seeing who was interested. And next week, following our episode 7, we're going to have a speaker, past, present, and potential speaker connection call. So that'll be a separate follow-up call for more networking amongst the women who are speakers. So I'll share a link for that later. I'll mention that again before we depart today. And there's also a playlist now that is on YouTube that you can catch all of the previous sessions. And so everything's all in one place. And so it's just easy to kind of binge watch if you want to. And so I just appreciate you all being here. And part of the magic of this is sharing the wealth with others. So please invite your friends, tell your your colleagues, anyone who you've collaborated with before, who you feel might be a fit and would resonate with any of the topics, which are embodiment, feminine leadership, and new paradigm business. Those are kind of the umbrellas that we're playing with. So yay, welcome, welcome everybody. And a lot of people do catch the replays of these. So feel free to also comment if you are not on live on YouTube, and we'll be able to address anything that you want to share with us there. Okay, thank you so much, everybody. So I'm going to introduce our speakers, and the order in which I introduce them are the order in which they're going to present. And then I will give each of the speakers 10 minutes to take the floor. Really, the framework for this is anything goes that the speaker want to share about. So, you know, I give a loose kind of prompt, and then it's off to the races. And also each woman is able to share a opportunity to join their community and be in their field continually through joining their mailing list or the community. And definitely let's all connect on LinkedIn at a minimum. I would love that. Welcome, welcome everybody who's just joining on. So first up we have Debra Russell. Debra, you can just wave hello so everyone sees ya. Debra is an elite certified business coach, a keynote speaker, and professional development trainer, and she holds a master level certificate in Ericksonian hypnosis and NLP. And Debra has over 2 decades of experience as a business coach. She's also almost on, like, let's root for her because she's on the last tail end of getting her MBA.
So close.
Bless your heart. Literally in the throes of completing it this month. So thank you for being here, Debra. And she has a specialty working with professionals in the arts and entertainment industry, as well as professional athletes, which is very interesting to me, and small business owners who are pursuing their passions as a business. So that's Debra. And then we have our returning speaker, Karen Lee. Karen is a new earth midwife who guides humans to their innate majesty through creative alchemy and invitations to honor their wild soul's full expression. She supports visionaries to align with the benevolent innate wisdom in all life and models society, culture, and relationships through authentic relating and building living systems. And finally, we have our sister, Allison Haitana. Hey. Allison is a shamanic practitioner, intuitive guide, and intentional creativity teacher. For the past 8 years, she has studied in depth on all manners of esoteric knowledge and has a business that fuses her wisdom and love of creativity, shamanism, magic, and alchemy. And her business is built on a solid and sustainable values-based foundation that originates from her cultural cosmology as New Zealand Indigenous Maori. Welcome, Allison. Okay, so that's our speakers for today. I'm going to pin just Debra for now. She's going first. And please, audience members, feel free to comment your takeaways as they come up, anything that you want to ask our speaker panel today, please just hold them because we will have an opportunity to share our voices and come on. All right, Debra, you are on.
Thank you so much, Dewey. I have to tell you, I had a hard time picking what to talk about. The two focuses are imposter syndrome and time management, and both of them really are issues for women in leadership. So, and I also want to say I love showing up here because most of the time I'm talking really strict business to business people, and I'm secretly pretty woo-woo. And so I have to kind of, be a little subtle about that. But let's talk about imposter syndrome. First of all, what is imposter syndrome? It's something that everybody experiences at some point in their lives. And the way I like to describe it is it's that voice in your head that says, but I love that, Melissa, thank you. But what if they actually saw me? If they actually really saw who I am, they wouldn't love me. That's the underlying voice or the underlying belief that drives imposter syndrome. It's the fear of being found out, that if they knew who you were, they wouldn't love you, they wouldn't hire you, they wouldn't pay you, they wouldn't give you a raise, they wouldn't whatever, ... right? And I want to say two things about that. First of all, that voice is your best friend. And we treat that voice shamefully. We treat that voice badly because usually that voice comes across as a critic. Don't do this. You're so stupid. Why did you do that? Oh my God, I can't believe you just said that. Right? We all know that voice, don't we? It's universal. We all have it, men, women, everything in between. We all have it. It is a voice of protection that you got because an ancestor 100,000 years ago survived because they listened to that voice. And I will tell you, in my personal experience, that voice has saved my life more than once. And I'm being very literal here, literally saved my life. So you don't want to beat that voice up, tell it to shut up, push it down. What you need to do is retrain it so that it speaks to you in a loving, supportive, constructive way. And that's just a matter of retraining it. The second thing I want to say about this is that the fake it till you'll make it actually makes imposter syndrome worse. Because in your mind somewhere, you're faking it. And if they knew that you were faking it, they wouldn't hire you, love you, pay you, give you the raise, whatever. So I personally think faking it till you make it is a very destructive mindset, but it's very common. The second thing I want to talk about imposter syndrome, I have lots of techniques that help you make friends with that voice, that help you build your confidence in your own authenticity, in your own power. I only have 10 minutes, so I can't get into that stuff right here. Please feel free to email me about it. Why is it important that we make friends with that voice and overcome the imposter syndrome? First of all, if you are pushing against that imposter syndrome in your leadership, it creates stress, it creates burnout, and it creates an innate restriction of opportunity, because you will stop yourself from doing the things that make you feel worse, that make the imposter syndrome, that activate the imposter syndrome, because you're protecting yourself from that experience. So getting past imposter syndrome is a really important growth for women who want to stand as leaders, take our space in the world. That's pretty, I don't know what time you started the clock. I mean, how much?
We're 5
I
minutes.
really have 5 minutes. All right, so let's play. So first of all, the trick, I'm going to give you just a very little piece. When you have that voice that feels like a critic, I invite you to engage that voice in a conversation. Say hello to it. welcome it. Thank it for loving you enough to be protective. And then give it some instruction. Something like, I know you love me, and I know you want me to be safe, and I really appreciate you protecting me. And I want to give you some feedback about how you can do your job better. So instead of telling me I'm stupid or telling me I made a mistake, I mean, it's good that you bring those mistakes to my attention, but can you do it in a way that is more loving? Can you do it in a way that builds me up instead of tearing me down? And just get into a conversation about what that might sound like. It feels a little weird at first to have that internal conversation with your own critic. But what happens when you try to shut that critic up? Please put it in the chat. What happens for you when you tell that critic to shut up? When you tell that critic to go away? What does it do? Yes, it gets louder. Thank you again, Melissa. It gets louder. It gets more abusive more often than not. It starts channeling whoever in your early years was the bully in your life, because it needs to be heard. The message it's trying to give you is extremely important. And so the more you put it away, push it away, tell it to shut up, disparage it, the louder it's going to get, because you're not listening. So listen and retrain. Yep, acknowledging that it wants to keep you safe, acknowledging that it's coming from self-love and self-empowerment. It's trying to help you do a better job. It just was badly trained. So retrain it. Come be a coach to your own inner coach and ask what it really is trying to tell you. What does it want you to do? What does it want you to know? And then give it lots of love and appreciation and gratitude. I will tell you, it's been a very long time since my inner critic has been critical, because I started doing this probably about 15, 20 years ago, really actively engaging with it. And it's been miraculous for my own confidence. It's been so helpful. And it saved my butt. It saved my life. It literally saved my life. So make friends with your inner critic and shift your imposter syndrome into your best ally. So I because I'm crazy busy with finishing my EMBA program, literally, what day is it? 20 days till I'm done. I didn't set up an automated, so just shoot me an email at Debra@DebraRussellCoaching.com and tell me you want the Imposter Syndrome ebook. And the title is Transforming Your Imposter Syndrome into A-List Level Confidence. And I also have a time management ebook. If you want that too, feel free to ask for it. I'm happy to send it on to you. That's me.
Thank you so much. That was powerful. Yeah, I love this piece, Debra, about reframing how this voice is an ally. You know, I mean, I've heard this before, but something about what you said about that, it's not even making it wrong at all, or like having
Right.
any kind of negative connotation about it.
It is your best friend, and it's such a powerful tool. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having this conversation with us. Okay, I'm going to bring you off of your pin now. I'm going to bring Karen on, and we can always, we're going to have a open forum at the end. Thank you so much. All right, Karen, I'm going to pin you now. You are up.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Debra, for opening in that way. I am so honored to be here again. Thank you so much. Mahalo from my whole heart. And I actually was inspired the first time that when we opened this series on March 1st by some of the women who courageously showed up and gave a presentation from the now. And part of my big life work is really trusting that everything I need is going to show up in the now, because I don't know about you all, but my mind and that protective mind that just wants so much for me is so convinced that it needs to know the detailed plan of what's happening tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And then it will keep me up at night, like trying to figure everything out and be sure that I'm going to be safe and I'm going to be okay. And like everything is, and then it'll make things like way more complicated than really when I remember and when I take those deep centering breaths and pause to do just what Debra said. Oh, hey, thank you for loving me so very much. Wow. Shall we take one of those deep centering breaths together right now? Thank you. Worried mind, for loving me so very much. That you wake me up in the middle of the night to try to keep me safe and have a plan. Thank you so much. I'm going to redirect you to the breath right now, to the mother breath that swirls golden grace in my belly. Swirl you through my heart hearth, warm you up by that ever-living fire, and invite you to snuggle into deep rest in the center of my being right now. And to welcome all that nervousness, all that fear that tomorrow might bring something that I can't handle. I'm just going to pull that story as a precious golden thread into my heart with this in-breath, into my swirling belly, and then offer out rest, reassurance, love to every being who might be awake, just like me, who might be worried, just like me right now, that they too might remember there is so much love available, so much love available in every now, in every breath. And that pausing is really all that's needed when I start to spin. So I'm in a major life transition right now, and those breaths. So I'm just so grateful that Debra brought forth these important reminders. And my prayer is to trust the now, trust the nectar of my breath, trust and soften and pause when the spinning happens. And sometimes I'm better at that than other times. And be a gentle, loving witness when it gets to feel really scary, and offer more reassurance. And I've been finding that in this process of unweaving my life and reweaving it, that friends pop in to remind me it doesn't have to be the really complicated hard way, and that I'm doing this unweaving, reweaving in a really gentle way, and receiving kindness along the way, and that the next thing that I need will show up now. And I love working with others in this way, to be alongside and encourage and witness and reassure that we have this incredible heart that can purify and transmute anything we bring it. And that grace is reality and our birthright, no matter how terrified or convinced our wounding has us, that whatever we did or whatever our ancestors did or whatever we hold in that place of secret shame is unredeemable, is unforgivable. I'm there to really go to those deepest, darkest, most clutched places of fear alongside another, to offer reassurance that forgiveness is real, and together, as we really trust in that, we are creating a new earth and regenerating our earth with living systems. And this I know to be true deep, deep, deep in my soul. And I love playing with people in creative ways and having our unique creativity be expressed and witnessed and come through, because each of us has a unique creative spark to nourish and nurture and express. And so that's another joy of my heart, to be alongside people as they discover and trust their own unique creativity. And I don't know, I meant to start my timer, but I didn't. So
Just about a little more than a minute.
Perfect timing to say, if you would like a complimentary hour with me, 55 minutes, because I love multiples of 11. Davey's gonna post a link to my scheduling, and we'll just do a spacious pause together to listen to your wild soul, and to listen and bring whatever's ready to be purified and composted to that hearth, and see together what creative impulses want to be nourished and nurtured right now in your life. So thank you so much for inviting me back to play.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you. Yes, definitely take Karen up on her offering. Can't edit that to say 55 minutes. But it's meant to be 55 minutes. I love the multiples too. The repeated angel numbers. Yeah, this piece about the grace as the reality, that's so powerful to remind ourselves of that, because even in those moments of the imposter syndrome and of the whatever's going on, quote, out there, that's grace too, if we allow it to be seen as such. And then what miracles can exist and magic can unfold from that place, right? Thank you, sister. All right. Appreciate you. And I am bringing up my sis Allison next. Okay, Allison, you have the floor for 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming, and thank you very much actually, Debra, you've filled in a gap in my kind of puzzle piece about the imposter. I have been curating it as the critic. I've been taught it as the critic and the muse kind of thing conversation, and so it's actually great that you've added that extra dimensional layer to it, so thank you very much for that. It's very, very helpful. And Karen, thank you. Oh my gosh, grace is reality. It's like now what am I going to talk about? I'm just going to riff. So the work that I do is quite deep, where I work with creativity and alchemy and kind of magic and stuff like that, and I very much work along the margins of storytelling. So I'm a huge fairy tale fanatic, and I kind of follow fairy tales for their one would say the seed of the story that they have inside them, without the kind of cultural or, time overlay that's run over the top of them, i.e. patriarchy, all of these archy things and stuff. And so what I generally look for in stories is a story seed, and kind of try and follow that story seed through time and space and see what it really has to teach us over time. One of the really interesting things that I found in this kind of story archaeology, I guess that's what you could call it, is that a lot of the stories that we have been told and retold time and time again are very much overlaid with the overarching culture that we have at the moment. And it's a very similar thing with business, kind of anything that we create. And what I've discovered over my business entrepreneurial journey is that many times I have wanted, and I have burnt my business very much down to the ground. And the reason why I've done this has only just become clear in the last couple of days. I've been doing a lot of work around values and how my personal values are informing my business values, because I treat my business as a separate consciousness. It's a separate entity as such, and although it may have things that are common for me, it has its own kind of like mission and purpose and stuff in the world. So I use my business as a vehicle for my creative expression, and the things that we do in collaboration and relationship together get out into the world to help people out in the world. And so what I've discovered is that over time, because I've been starting up and, getting things done and needing to be out there in the world and take all of this amazing advice that people have, I got lost in it. And when I get lost, I just create according to the overarching culture, which for me, from the work that I've done, is colonization. It's patriarchy, it's materialism, it's consumerism. And so what I've discovered is that if I really dive into the values of my business and really pull everything out and create a foundational structure in my business of values, that actually becomes, in a way, my North Star and my guiding light. And it actually allows me to create decisions and make decisions based upon my values, which mean usually that 99% of the stuff out there just falls away, because it doesn't fit this structure that I'm aligning myself, this vehicle that I've kind of created for myself, that I'm moving down the highway of my life with my business together. And it's been really, really fascinating, because I've noticed it when I start to teach this with other people in my classes and stuff like that, that it has the same effect. Because a lot of the time, and I'm that person as well, when I started out with my business journey, it was overwhelmed because it was so much information coming at once. There was a lot of things that I should have done, had have done, would have done, could have done. And because of that, I just got caught up in one thing after the other and snowballed. And I had no time for myself. I had no time for my family. When I started to really dive into values, and values as the guiding light and the kind of North Star of my business, everything else fell away. That made no sense. And to be honest, there's a lot of it that doesn't make any sense, because when you infuse values into your business, it's actually infusing a soul into the business. And so that soul has its own creative arc, so to speak, but it also has its own consciousness that's able to create decision making. And it's been really, really fascinating. And I've not wanted to burn my business down again, which I think is actually quite fascinating. The other thing that I really love about a values-based business is that, and this is something that I noticed with my mind as well, so it's very much interlinked. If I have no values, if I don't know where I am or where I stand, and in New Zealand we would call it our tūranga waiwai, which is our standing place. It's a dynamic and flexible place as well too, by the way. It's not fixed. Fixed is also a trait or a characteristic of colonization, or colonized mind, one would say. And so when we are able to be flexible and dynamic and move with the flow of our intuition, our inspiration, our creativity, we're actually able to sit in that kind of stream and move with it without the overarching culture, which is colonization from most areas, affecting you. And so it makes your decision-making amazing. It makes it very in tune with not only kind of your grand plan, so to speak, overall of, you know, being here on this amazing planet that we have, but it also allows you, which I think is really important, to be in relationship with your business, and to be in relationship with other people, and to be in relationship with the planet. It really allows you to create something new, because you're actually walking in new territory and new terrain. Because part of also what I do as a storyteller is I'm here in a lot of ways to actually revolutionize the experience that we're here to experience, but part of that requires letting go of the old that doesn't serve us anymore. And a lot of that is colonization, patriarchy, but it's not a swinging pendulum that I'm looking for. It's actually harmony in the middle and the union that comes from all of that. And so I just invite you into perhaps looking at creating some value structure within your business and making it overt and known to other people. But the real clincher comes when you start to embody those values, and those values become kind of the defining part of your business, and you walk out into the world with those values as who you are and what you stand for together as a relationship in your business. It's been pretty profound, I must say. When I think about my own mind and a colonized mindset, because that's the way that I talk about it. Another way to talk about it is actually a fixed mindset. It's very similar the way that they operate, and you know, we all talk. Many people talk about having a growth mindset, which is very similar to having a flexible and dynamic mindset and stuff as well too. So sometimes, yes, we can be colonized and it can be a good thing. Like think of, you know, the colonies of bacteria and stuff that you have, but also remember that it's in relationship with one another. A lot of the time with colonization, there's no relationship there because it's based on an extractive-based relationship that goes one way. And so I'd just like to invite you into perhaps looking at, you know, how your business, if you have a business, that you can add the values into your business and look at them from a really kind of intuitive, creative, expression-based way, but also in your own personal life. You know, do you have values? And I know everybody does, because we kind of walk through the world with values. We may not be overt about them, and just see where those kind of values align. And then maybe be more overt about it, about how you interact with people in the world. Because what happens is, as with anything, everything is energy, and values kind of run along this energetic current, and they pull people towards you that align with those same energetic values, as well as kind of gently kind of keeping people out of your sphere that don't align with those values. And it's a really interesting kind of magnetic quality that one may have in their business to allow for expansion and growth, if that's what you're looking for, but also just real connection and integrity and honesty and authenticity. So yeah, that's kind of what I have to talk about. I'm pretty sure I've probably still got a little bit of time left. And I'm just going to say that Debra is going to drop some information about a freebie that I have. It's actually a creativity process that I do, which is called Entrepreneurial Allies, where you can actually create your own oracle cards as a entrepreneur, but you can use the same process to create whatever oracle card you want. I'm actually also in the midst of creating a couple of processes that will help you with values-based business, if that's what you're looking for. And they will most likely be out in the next 2 weeks because I'm recording them at the moment. So if you're anywhere that I need to know, then I will tell you. And I'll post them up on my LinkedIn and stuff like that as well. If you want to opt into them, they'll be free too, by the way, so they'll be complimentary. So yeah, I look forward to hearing from you, but also thank you very much for the opportunity as well to speak.
Yes, thank you. This is so powerful. This piece about the kind of colonial overlay, which to me gives it a little more context than just saying something like the patriarchy. Somehow.
Well, it's interesting because one is kind of born out of the other, like they are all there, like, and that's the thing, because they're invisible, because they're unconscious as such, and they're just there. Like a lot of people, don't, I guess, speak into it or talk about it because it's such a prevalent part of our society, like, everywhere around the world. And it's a very interesting facet when you think about the, as above, so below, that kind of construct that exists. Sometimes I talk about it as the matrix because it's easier people understand it. That colonized construct that is so repressive and oppressive and extractive is actually also a mindset that can exist in an individual. And if you do not if you're not aware of it, and you kind of create things, there is an unconscious bias to create according to a colonial construct. And that's actually what I've discovered. That's actually quite fascinating. And that's why I burnt my business down to the ground, because I actually saw that what I was creating in my office and my messaging and my business framework was actually oppressive structures that weren't actually serving. It wasn't in relationship with anyone. It wasn't generous. It wasn't nurturing. And that's when I realized, that's why I burnt it down, because it didn't feel right. And the reason it didn't feel right is because it had this kind of extractive, oppressive vibe to it. And I was just like, wow, that's really interesting, really interesting.
Yeah. The ways that we internalize any kind of programming, really.
And that's what it is too. It's just programming and conditioning. Colonization, programming, conditioning, unconscious bias, like they are one in the all. And it's just a different language to speak in regards to it, but we're all speaking about the same thing. It's just some other people have a different context and language in the way that they talk about it. And I generally talk about it in either like colonized construct or kind of like the patriarchy or the matrix, but it is basically an unconscious bias.
Right. And the key word there is unconscious.
Yes, totally. Because it's ever apparent, but it's
just wallpaper.
Hidden.
It's just wallpaper. It's everywhere. We just don't even see it.
Yeah. And that's the heartbreaking thing. When you kind of have awareness about it, you see it everywhere and everything. And it's a humbling moment for sure. But it's also one of those moments, I think, when I discovered that, I was just like, wow, that's very clever, but I'm clever. I'm more intelligent. So,
it is clever.
It is. And I mean, that's part of, I think, the beauty that I saw in it. I was like, wow, that's a very clever way of creating that kind of unconscious patterning and programming in people. I was just like, it's brilliant. Like, you can't help but think that it's brilliant because it's survived for so long.
Well, I brought everybody,
it's also just,
everybody into the mix. Sorry, real quick. So we're all part of the conversation now. So the doors are open for you to share your voice. Go for it, but Debra.
It's just part of it's the way the brain works. Like you can't say, oh, well, I just won't be biased, because the brain is a very energy consumptive organ. And so it's always looking for ways to shortcut and to streamline and to reduce how much energy it's consuming. And one of the ways it does that is by automating thought processes. And that's
Interesting.
what bias is. Bias is simply an automated thought process. So to say, well, I just won't be biased, you can't not be biased. That's just the way your brain works. So the key is to just bring the unconscious into conscious awareness. So you can make choice about those automated thought processes. And you
Yeah,
can
that's brilliant.
retrain and reassess and shift and reframe those automated thought processes, and then create new habits, because that's all a habit is. So.
Hey, Melissa, did you want to come on and share your voice? Nice to see you.
Aloha, everybody. Thank you. This was wonderful. I'm glad I was able to jump on today. I love how this is a lot of the similar conversations that I have in my own work, but how the verbiage just shifted a little bit. I am a Colombian New Yorker living in Hawaii, but I'm currently in New York, and I'm in this weird transition of really understanding how to practice the very deep embodiment work that I do. So I love to be able to sit here and listen to other folks' perspectives to help me shift my verbiage. The transition club, yeah, big time transition woman.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Right. Like, and speak of transition, I've been deathly ill for the last 2 weeks. Like I couldn't breathe, I had fevers, and I know it's just part of the transition of what I'm about to step into, because I'm being led to go to Egypt and France and Israel to do some really deep sexual transmutation work with folks. So I'm grateful for this space to be with other women, you know, who are in similar levels of conversation, doing this gorgeous work that we're doing. To be in community and just be seen for the work that we do. So thank you, ladies. Yeah.
Thank
Beautiful.
you. I'm so
Thank you.
happy you came again. And next week, we're doing, immediately following this session, we're having a past, present, and potential speaker connection call. So it's going to be, no agenda other than to like dive into these, whatever wants to emerge for us in our conversation. So all the, whoever is interested in being a speaker on this series, or if you have been a speaker on this series, or, you're booked to be a speaker on this series, please come, so we can, have more of these conversations, and see where this beautiful arc of creative flow is going. Because I do feel there's something emerging that is wanting to emerge from this series beyond, the weekly conversations as well, and featuring my beautiful guests every time.
And I'm
So
so
something's quickening.
Yeah.
something's quickening. Yeah, big time. And thank you for doing what you're doing, my love, because it's supporting me emotionally in what I'm stepping into. Because I don't know what's happening next, but I just know I'm being pulled to like allow myself to surrender to all of it, and everything is just kind of falling into place as it needs to. And of course, the lovely ego loves to pop in, right, with the critical mind. So Debra, thank you for that beautiful reminder today of just like, no, baby, I see you. I see what you're doing, my love. It's okay. I love you. Thank you for being here, but I'm going to choose differently. So yeah, so thank you.
Mm-hmm. Did anyone have any questions or issues they wanted some coaching on?
Yeah, floor is open. One of my teachers used to say, questions, comments, position papers. Let me drop in real quick just the link to register for next week's. You're all registered for the series, but I wanted to drop in the link to register for the Speaker Fest is the name that I'm calling it. And so it will be immediately preceding. Hi, Joanna. You want to share your voice?
Sure, I'm on the phone. I've been a little bit chaotic as that is part of my brand. But wanted to hop on and just share my gratitude for all the speakers that have spoken today and sharing beautiful messages that I needed to hear today, and getting me ready for my feature coming on here in the coming weeks. So I'm excited for this quickening.
Yay, so happy you're here. Yeah, please, please, please come next week too to our conversation post presentation if you can. So I dropped the link for that. I also wanted to open the receptivity floodgates and let you know that if, this series, I'm welcoming donations. I'm just putting this on and following my heart, and would love to receive. If you have received value and you are able to give a love offering, please do. No pressure or anything, but if you feel to, I do have a donation page I set up for this. Just wanted to pop that in and exercise my receptivity muscle. Yeah, does anyone else want to feel inspired to bring up questions or I'll just affirm that I'm also in transition as well. And I think that's the times we're living in, and part of the conversation last week, we centered around this idea or aspect and value of trust, and how I believe as we evolve here, that trust muscle is really, moving from a place of trusting ourselves is really what's required. And Allison, your share really did, come back down to that, like trusting our values. Like if we are living from our values, we need to trust that we will be supplied and, be able to thrive from that place.
Yeah, it's not a radical notion, you know what, like living from your values. It's not a radical notion at all. Like it's just I think with the day and age and the turning of the ages and like how many people are becoming more aware of things, I think it just becomes a necessary like conversation or relationship or something like that with your business. It just becomes necessary because it does help to move through the fluff that's out there. It does help for you to see the forest through the trees. And like a lot of things that I do, like efficiency and simplicity are things that I adore. And if I have these values instilled in my business and they are who I am and they are who my business is, it actually helps me to direct and focus my gaze and focus the conversations and community that I want to create, focus on the relationships that I want to create with people and that I want to nurture and cultivate. Because also part of, I guess, the journey, that's why entrepreneurship is a massive spiritual undertaking as well. Like part of it is just becoming aware, that there are people out there for me. There's people that I'm looking for that are most likely in my world. And it's just like bringing those people together because we all go as one. And that's what values do. It's kind of like this amazing elephant trail where it connects all of these people together and you kind of all walk together into wherever you're going to go. And it does help with creating a community and creating relationships with people, which I think is really amazing. Like, I didn't know this was going to happen, but it's just something that I've been tinkering with for a very long time. And now that I know, like, you just know. And I think that's what the brilliance of it. Yeah. And everyone comes along for the party. But that's kind of the thing, like with a values-based business, there's no competition because everyone is who they are. And we all get to walk together and we all get to cheer each other. It creates a different energetic dynamic and genesis around anything that you do, which is something that I've been looking for a very long time. So I'm really grateful that I found it. and kind of embodied it in my business and stuff like that. And part of that is also, unfortunately, working in behind the veil of certain businesses and realizing that the perception was not the reality. And I think that's the difference between saying that you have values and embodying your values. That is the biggest difference. And
well, we all embody our values. It's just not always the values that we talk about. Because the truth is, when we make decisions, we're always making decisions based on our values. Yep. It's just not always conscious and intentional. And it's not always brand. It's not always on brand. Right. Put it that way. So you know, that while we say, you know, I love Nike, we, you know, just do it, and we support women unless they get pregnant, in which case not so much. But, you know, so what are your values really? How much do you support female athletes? Do you support them being fully female and making their choices that they want to make in their lives? No, we don't, because as soon as they get pregnant, we fire them. But right, and it's just like, you have to watch what people do and then compare it to what they say to get a feeling for really what are their real values.
Yeah, I think this piece about having this kind of internal litmus test, like North Star, it's like if you value integrity, then you're going to, you know, even in the moments where we falter from that value and we're not like, no one's going to be like, I mean, it's all subjective, right? Who's the one to be the judge anyway? You know, it's like, you know, it's a way to bring ourselves, to check ourselves and to be, you know, come into right alignment and right relation, and to walk the beauty way, if that's, you know, what's important to us. And so we get to like all be reflections of each other too. And so when we do see that company that's like out of integrity, it's kind of like, oh, okay, what's here for me? You know, what do I have to gain from this example of total debauchery and like burned to the ground, like banks collapsing, you know, all of these kinds of things that are, to me, I hold the value of it's all happening for me. You know, it's all part of the quickening somehow.
My leadership professor, the first term of my MBA program, who has passed, so we think of him fondly. He talked about readjusting your compass. That because he was military, he was actually a spook. He was doing some very secret, covert things in Afghanistan and Iraq. And when he came home, it was really hard for him. And one of the things he talked about was that his compass had slid. So he had to realign his compass to his North Star, to his values. And that's an ongoing process. And I love that metaphor, that there's always the North Star, but sometimes we get a little, squirrel. We get a little distracted off that North Star, and we just have to bring ourselves back. And Allison, the thing I want to say to you is stop burning your business down. Just realign your values, just realign your compass. You don't have to go into Phoenix mode and completely burn, like destroy everything in order to do that, in order to be true to yourself.
Yeah, I have discovered that now. Thank you very much for that advice. So I love a fire. That's just my nature. But I've learned that it's also one of those things that's also an unconscious bias that I had. Like, if it doesn't work, it's all got to go. Like, it's all or nothing.
Baby with the bathwater.
Yep, totally. And so I'm like, yeah, no, that's not the way to be gentle to yourself or kind to yourself or others. And that's what I've learned too. And it's interesting that that compass redirection that you talk about with your professor, it's something that's come with me as well. And it's a course correction, because I think of aviation as a similar thing as well. You know, even when someone is on the autopilot, it's constantly course correcting all of the time. It knows the destination, but it's like, yep, it's from A to B, but it'll constantly, you know, weave according to the environmental things that are going on as well. So it's a similar thing. And that allowance for that, yes, things are going to happen, like, oh yeah, squirrel, like what you say, because I do that all the time, like, oh, it's so pretty. That's going to happen. And then like being gentle enough with yourself to have, and then also having the courage to kind of go, okay, yeah, that's cool, we'll just do what we, you know, and we'll refocus and stuff. And that's also another life lesson that I've learned, is being really gentle with myself when I go off and play with the fairies, because that happens a lot. And that's okay, because sometimes that information that I've gained from that sidetrack is the information that fuses into my business. But,
and we need breaks. We all
totally
need breaks. Sometimes, you know, binge watching something on Netflix is exactly what I need in order to then be able to refocus on my business. And I work on this with clients all the time on time management, where they feel bad about themselves because they take rest breaks. And I'm like, no, a rest break is a productive activity. You're really producing something during that rest break. So embrace it, have fun with it. So yeah, being gentle with yourself is so important. All right.
I love
And
that.
also, I'm loving the self-honesty in that as well. Just being completely upfront with yourself. I'm taking refuge in Netflix right now. I'm resting by, you know, doing something that someone else might call by another name. And I am choosing this and owning that this is what I'm doing right now.
Yep. No judgment.
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That's the key. And I thank you for this reminder. I love the arc of our conversation today. Let's keep the beautiful synergy going. Share this with your colleagues, your sisters, your biz besties, anyone who would resonate with our conversations and contribute to it. And this is, to me, the new paradigm way of birthing, you know, what we're kind of what's wanting to emerge. We're dismantling and dissolving, you know, all the ways we may have held ourselves back, or, you know, made ourselves wrong, or like felt like imposters, while also, you know, co-creating the way that we see as visionary women, as embodied feminine leaders. So that's what this series is all about. And I'm so grateful to each of you today. Thank you, Debra. Thank you, Karen. And thank you, Allison and Isabella, and everyone who was on as participants. I just really value your presence here, and I couldn't do this without you. Did you want to say hi, Isabella, real quick?
Hi, everybody.
Happy.
Hi, Isabella.
Oh, you're trying to get some things done and listen, which I know is multitasking, but I'm under the gun under some deadline. So, but thank you. I did try to focus a lot. I'm doing, I live in Alameda, California. I've danced with Karen, so that's how I think I got on this listserv. But
I love Alameda. I lived there for 3 years. It's one of my favorite places in the world.
yeah, it's changing a lot, but it's nice.
Yeah.
You know, it's nice to have access to the big city and to come into little Mayberry, I like to say. You know, it feels small town still. I've been studying and gathering instruments, doing some sound healing. That's kind of the direction I'm moving in, and you know, just trying to feel confident behind that. But also like to do I like what I did with you, Karen, which is some dancing with women and circling, and just trying to gather women more in our community. So I like this idea, what you're doing also. Is it Debbie? You know, putting it out there. I am connected with a yoga studio, so my mind is clicking also about maybe something I could offer women to come together and share information.
Do you know about the Brain Exchange in the East Bay?
I've been to that, actually.
Have you? Have you?
I have been
Yeah,
to
it's a
that.
wonderful,
It is
a
real.
wonderful women group that has gone through some transitions because of COVID, but it's
Were they in
it's just
Richmond?
a
Are they
lovely
still
group.
in Richmond, or are they on?
They were in El Cerrito last time I
El Cerrito.
went, but yeah, if email me and I'll connect you with Anita and you can get on their mailing list if you're not.
Yeah, that was a good
It's a
group. I
great-
got
it's a
some
great
gigs
group.
out of that for something that I was doing way back when.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Your
I-
email is in the chat.
Yeah, her email's in the chat, and I'm gonna follow up with all of our links. Thank
Correct.
you, sisters. I appreciate you all. Thanks for
Thank
hanging out a
you.
little longer today. We did get a little bit of a later start, so I honor you and your beautiful presence in the world. Rooting for you, Deborah. Go get them with your last final days of your wrapping up.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
I look forward to reading your ebooks and connecting with all of you next week.
Excellent.
Yes.
All
Bye,
right.
everybody.
Bye,
Aloha.
everyone.
Thank
Ciao.
you.